Tonight, a magnitude 6 earthquake strikes the southern Philippine Islands. And, well, is the debate continuing on Hurricane Matthew? And welcome to this week's instalment of WeatherBeat. My name is Nathan Foy and we've got quite a few stories to be getting on with. The first tonight is what recently happened in the Philippines. An earthquake, at least magnitude 6 I believe, struck Mindanao last night, Philippine time. And joining me on the line from Davao is Ray. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Nice to meet you, buddy.
Nice to have you on as well. It's been a little while since you were on one of our live streams a long time ago now, weren't you? Was it maybe late last year?
Maybe late last year. I cannot remember, man.
Nice to see you again anyway. You're very close to where this earthquake happened, right?
Maybe the epicenter of the earthquake is about, my best guess is about probably 150 kilometers from my location.
Did you feel it?
Yeah, I felt the earthquake last night because I was doing some work last night, and then I felt like something was starting to shake in the house, and then after a few seconds it got stronger. So I noticed the lights were swaying really badly.
Yeah.
But it was a really strong earthquake. I mean, personally saying, it was the strongest earthquake I've ever felt.
So tell us what's going on the ground today. Has there been a lot of damage, impact reports?
I mean, thankfully, in my place right now, there's no damage officially from our local government. But our local government here in Davao City is declaring that there will be no classes today because the government is ordering all schools to inspect their buildings to make sure if if there's no damage or whatsoever, just to make sure the safety of the people, the students of the schools in Davao City.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I've not been extremely close to this because of other things that have been going on, but did it cause a few fires in the area? I think I've been seeing stuff on social media about that.
There is actually a fire. It's located about probably 5 hours from Davao City.
Okay.
It's called General Santos City, and there's a mall that caught fire after the earthquake.
And that's way south, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken, on my Philippine geography.
That's way south, probably 5-hour drive from Davao City.
All right, but things in your city not so bad?
Thankfully, it's not so bad. Thankfully.
And just finally, how often do earthquakes like these get felt in your area?
I mean, earthquakes at this magnitude, like 6.0 above, usually, from what I experience, usually we experience that probably once every year.
So that's actually quite regular. I mean, you are on, of course, the Pacific Ring of Fire. But this one, I guess it was quite shallow as well, so it probably struck a little bit harder than other ones tend to do.
I mean, this earthquake was really a shallow earthquake because the other earthquakes, like the 6.0 earthquakes before, was much deeper. So the shaking before then wasn't as bad, but now it's a shallow earthquake, so the shaking was widespread and it's really strong.
And you were saying, 4 fatalities today from what happened last night?
Yeah, that's what I've heard from the recent news report coming out from our local TV station, that there are some fatalities, 4 fatalities reported from the earthquake, and there are numerous injuries, like an estimated 20 injuries so far.
Wow. Well, Ray, we're glad you're safe and well down there, and I'm sure you'll be keeping an eye on the tropics as well over the coming weeks.
Yeah, because in the coming weeks, we could be in the target for possible storms in the future. We'll keep an eye on that.
Late season activity. Thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Thanks. Along with the main channel, Force 13 is delivering news on several regional channels as well. The Australia and Oceania channel, the UK and Ireland branch, and the US and Caribbean Force 13 branch as well. You can find all of these on our channel page on the right hand side. So if you've not heard the news by now, there has been some interesting developments in the last week. Force 13 has been reanalyzing a lot of storms, and rather controversially, some things have changed. And on our latest satellite estimates, along with the recon data, during the course of the peak of Hurricane Matthew, it was, surprisingly to me, determined that the peak intensity of 160 miles per hour didn't occur for long enough and has now been downgraded to a Category 4. Well, first in with reaction on this, on Force 13's coverage of this, if you want to call it that, is Devon. Hello, Devon, how are you?
Or
Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, you've been going on about this forever, and you did explain once, I think it was it in another WeatherBeat, I'm not sure, at length, why you thought that Matthew was a Category 4, and now our Force 13 official analysis has run with it at long last. Your thoughts?
if I'm gonna be sarcastic, I'm gonna say glad you guys got it right finally. But I'm not gonna be like that. It's a difference of 5 miles an hour. I've already explained it in length, but here's the cliff notes of it for those that don't know. When you take a look at the Raycon evidence, you will find that there is one and only one SFMR reading that Raycon ended up getting where the peak intensity of Hurricane Matthew was above Category 5 status. I believe it was an SFMR that was unflagged for 143 knots.
Correct.
And it was then, and with recent recon that we've gotten now out of really powerful storms, Irma and Dorian especially, we've kind of figured out that SFMR reading, those SFMR readings can tend to overestimate the storm, as well as that particular SFMR is flooded in the ranks of other flagged readings.
A lot of white noise.
Exactly. So to say that was a little bit suspect is to say the least. That reading is a bit suspect. Now, that reading did occur before the storm hit its peak intensity. If you take a look at the best possible image Hurricane Matthew ended up getting on satellite, you would end up seeing that the storm's peak occurred roughly 2 hours after recon, or like an hour and a half after recon ended up coming in. So even if the recon ended up being downgraded, that's why the NHC ended up going 165 miles an hour. As they say, even if the SFMR went down a little bit, the storm strengthened a little bit after recon, so 165, whatever.
Yet our estimates didn't see that part at all, really, saying, well, there were Category 5 readings, but it didn't occur for long enough. We're also joined by Riley. You're here to talk about it as well. What are your thoughts on this downgrade? Do you think it's right or wrong?
Well, yeah, I agree with what Devin said, and to be clear, there is probably an argument for both sides, but I would choose to stand on the Category 4 side as well too, because for basically the same reasons, that he mentioned, the structure didn't really maintain long enough, and neither did the recon readings to support that. And the one SFMR reading of 143 knots, and even if it's not flagged, unflagged does not mean no problem. So all in all, yeah, I would agree with that.
Very interesting. And it is, I think we all acknowledge, Devon, that it is a very close case as well.
It's definitely a borderline case. There's arguments for both sides that are definitely legitimate.
And Riley, were you always of the opinion that Matthew was a Category 4 as well? Or?
Well, not until I really looked into it deeply, but once I really looked into it and looked at the recon and previous history of it, and from what I remember of tracking it, then I realized that they definitely overestimated this, and I was thinking at the very most it's 160. But now that I look into it even more, I agree with the 155 even more than that. So yeah.
Well, a very interesting case. Everyone holding up their hands. It's a 4 according to Force 13's analysis now. Only down 5 miles per hour. In the grand scheme of things, doesn't make the hugest of differences when we're talking. And a lot of people get worked up over this sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
More reason
Well-
why the Saffir-Simpson scale is perhaps a little bit, I don't want to say it too loudly, but a little bit outdated by now.
Yes,
But-
definitely. One thing I will say about this is that the main reason why people end up going insane is because you also have to put Matthew being a Category 5 in context, and very similarly, Hurricane Joaquin of the previous year in a context, the fact that the Atlantic Basin has actually not seen a Category 5 between then and Hurricane Felix in 2007, Igor notwithstanding. So,
Which was also downgraded recently by the
which was also downgraded back down to 4.
and that
But
is something
there were
that actually
tons of nears misses.
that actually didn't occur to me that the Category 5 gap will have now been elongated as a result of that too. That is fascinating. We're out of time here. Thanks very much, both of you, for joining us, Devon and Riley. I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Schools have closed down today in northern Vietnam due to heavy rain, which has also caused street flooding. Several people were struck by lightning on Tuesday in Tanir Panalpati village in southern India. 4 died and 26 were injured. Lebanon has been hit by over 100 wildfires that occurred in forest areas over the course of the last 2 or 3 days. 49 have been rescued. The relief effort continues in the Bahamas. 900 people are currently sheltered and the death toll stands at 61. And you can tell us about any weather events going on in your backyard. You can send us a message, video or image by contacting us on Facebook, Twitter or by email contact@force13.com. And finally, tonight on WeatherBeat, it's been a very sad week here at Force 13 HQ as I take my second position here. It's been a very long week, and you may have noticed that the tropical weather bulletin last night was cancelled. On Tuesday morning, one of our contributors at Force 13, who we've had on board since the very beginning for many years indeed, Shawn Simms, died on Tuesday morning after a long battle with cancer. He happens to be my uncle as well, and he helped with the early days of Force 13 with the website, the server management in the early days of our existence. The person who really inspired me to keep going with the project more than anyone else, I suppose, when the website launched in the early part of 2012, and also helped me out with a lot of the photography skills that I later acquired over the course of the next few years, which of course has helped us along here at Force 13 as well. This frame behind me is a picture that he took and gave to us here at Force 13 HQ, which I think was a very touching gesture. Happens to be the same waterfall that we did Hurricane Week 2013, the intro. So it seems like things go in circles in some regards, but there we are. I just would like to pay a tribute at this point to Shawn, who hopefully is in a much better place at this point after battling a very difficult and brave fight with cancer over the course of the last almost a year. We will, here at Force 13 HQ, forever remember him in my personal life and as a family within our project. And on that note, we end tonight's WeatherBeat, and we'll see you again soon.